what is the importance of API, and then we'll move it on to build
skills. Sure. You can start with that. Once you're done with that, then I'll share my screen.
Okay, sure.
By the way, you vanished.
Yeah, I just, since we were waiting, so I'm conscious.
Of what?
No, like camera.
Okay, we are live on social. So hi everyone and welcome to today's session where we're going to talk about the basics of blockchain APIs, and then we are going to show you how to use these APIs. First, we will show you Tatum, which is an API service provider for many different blockchains. And after that, we'll use Postman, which is a very interesting tool. And using that, we will talk to a multi-chain blockchain and show you how to run the API commands. Now, this is very, very important for all of us because this is now extremely practical. As and when you become a blockchain developer, Web3 developer, this is exactly what you are going to do as part of your job. So please pay very close attention. And whatever questions you have, keep asking. So Shinam, can you start?
Yeah, so we'll start with API. Now, I'm sure everybody knows the full form of API, so I'm not going to go into that. But APIs are basically used when two softwares or two different programs wants to interact with each other. So for example, when you see your phone, when you look at your phone, when you get the updates about weather, the news items that you keep getting pop-ups, or these are all basically interacting with your phone's software. And for every API request has a response, and every API request has a way in which you have to ask in terms of the key or the username password required, what is the URL. So every API request consists of different parameters, and along with that we have method also in API. So we have multiple methods, but initially when we are as a programmer, we primarily use get and post method. So I'm sure everybody knows that in get you send the request in the URL, and in the post you send a request via a body which is not goes in the URL. So you can't see what you're requesting for. So the message is enclosed in the request. That's how the API system works. So here when we are working with multiple blockchains, now if you realize blockchain.
Can I give a simple example? So if you guys are right now, for example, on the creator side, so if you look at the URL on top, it says creator.club/livestream/4772. Then there's a question mark, tab equal to chat. So what you're seeing in the tab equal to chat is there is a variable called tab, and the value of that is chat. So many times when you look at certain websites, you will see very long URLs on top. And whatever you see after the question mark, you can see that that's a GET request. And in the code of the page, the developer is going to pull the data from that. So each of those items is going to be a variable. So for example, tab is a variable. So in your code, you can take tab and call the value and then do certain things with it. So that is what we mean by GET. But when you log into, let's say, your Gmail account, then obviously your username and password is not going to go in the URL. It will go in a separate way, which we call as post. I hope that's clear. Any questions, you can just let us know.
I'll also give you one more example. So for example, like Rohas had given you an example in terms of when we're talking about smart contracts. So for example, you have an insurance with an airline that if your flight gets delayed by more than, let's say, 30 minutes, you will get this much money. Manually, nowadays, people don't file it. So what happens is every airline, there's a third-party system which keeps a track of where is the airplane, is it late or not, kayak, and you must have seen flight tracker. So they use those APIs in insurance companies. So as and when automatically they track for this person who's traveling through this flight, the flight is delayed. So automatically it will initiate the smart contract and then they will get the refund. Now things are not done manually. And one software can interact through multiple softwares just via API. So basically it's for two different softwares to interact with each other. So in our example, what we are doing is we are running a UI platform. Now we continuously need to talk with blockchain, and blockchain is a completely different ecosystem in itself. So that's why we need API, which is a small line of code that needs to interact with my code as well as blockchain, and then gives me the result and answers, which I will display into my current software that I'm using. That's how the API system works. I try to simplify it.
I think it's very clear. So let me just quickly share my screen. So right now, if you guys want to follow along, you can also open up your screens, and let me just share. Give me a second. Let me know if you can see something called Tatum opened up on my screen.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, awesome. So now to follow along, you can also open up tatum.io. So let me just put the URL here if you guys want. Otherwise, you can just watch. There is no problem. Okay, so tatum.io. So when we log into the site for the first time, it shows us that we have API keys. So in this your API keys that you can see here, if I click on show, it shows me my API key, and if I click on this button, it has copied that API key to the clipboard, because that is what I am going to use to authenticate myself to the Tatum service. Because it's obviously, they have a free plan and they have a paid plan, and there are restrictions. Now, how do they know how much a particular person has consumed? So every time that you use an API service like this, you have to pass that API key of yours, based on which they are going to then measure how much you have consumed, and they may be charging you. Now that we have that with us, we can go on to the Tatum kind of a dashboard, and it shows us a whole bunch of different blockchains. So if you look here on the left, you can see Algorand, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, BNB Smart Chain, BNB Beacon, Cardano, Celo, Dogecoin, and there's a huge list of blockchains. You also have Polygon, QTUM, Solana. So Tatum allows you to query and do transactions with all these blockchains using their API services. So effectively, as a developer, I do not need to learn anything about that particular website. If I want to say, for example, let's start with a very basic example. So let's say that I want to get the current block number. So we know in a blockchain, regularly new blocks are being formed. Suppose my application simply wants to pick the number of the latest block. I don't have to worry about which blockchain and what is the syntax used. I would simply go to Tatum here, and here they show me an example. So they say that you need to run a get query where it says v3, which is version 3 maybe of Tatum itself, /Ethereum/block/current. I hope you guys can see that part. Is this part absolutely clear? They're showing it to us here. And they are also showing us that if you want to query the blockchain using this code in your software, if you're using curl, this is the code you would use. If you're using JavaScript, this is the code. So they give you the entire code. So in my case, let's have a look at PHP. So I'm a PHP developer also. So this is the entire bunch of code that I need to use if I am going to be using PHP. Now inside this, can you see this here? Your API key here. So the only modification that you would make to this code is here you would paste your API key, and everything else is the same it is. And then we can upload this onto our server. So I'll give you an example here that I've uploaded this onto my server. So rohasnagpal.com/test.php. So this exact code that Tatum gave me, I copy pasted on a file, renamed it as test.php, uploaded it to my site, and when I click, now let me refresh. And the moment I refresh, you can notice the number here has changed. So the moment I hit refresh, it ran this entire code, went to the Ethereum blockchain through Tatum, brought the number of the latest one and displayed it here. Now, once I have this number in my code, I can then do anything else with it. So depending upon the kind of application that I'm developing, this number can be used and we can do something. And how it actually runs is, if I directly make it simple and I say try it, so I just hit that. So here it says, when I do that, I'm sending this command, and here the entire code is displayed, and here in the body, the response has come. It's that simple. So far, is it clear to everyone? Any questions? A quick yes, no would help. Awesome. So here now we can see that there's a whole bunch of things that we can do. So right now we did a very simple one where we got the current block. Now let's take it to the next level. Let's say we want to generate an Ethereum wallet. So here it tells us that every time you use it, you're going to consume 1 credit. So different things have different credit consumption. Now here the command is going to be v3/Ethereum/wallet. So when I click on try it, so here I can now send that command, and here can you notice that it has generated this thing for us. So you remember when you use MetaMask, it shows you all those, that secret key, the set of words that you use. So it has generated that for us. So when we actually build our own wallet, so let's say we want to build our own wallet like a MetaMask, we do not have to start coding from scratch. We could actually use a service like Tatum, use the relevant APIs, and we could build an entire application out of it. So here we saw how easy it was for us to generate a new Ethereum wallet. Like this, we can see a whole bunch of commands. So if we want to get an Ethereum block by hash, so we will give the hash as an input, it will give us the block details. We can get the balance of an Ethereum account. So now let me click on that. Here, what I need to do is, this is the command. So again, notice v3/ethereum/account/balance. And here the address has to be passed. So let me hit try it. They will then put a dummy address. I mean, we could put our own, or we could use the one they have. Now they have added the address here, if you can notice. So Tatum also, if you're just trying it out, has some built-in addresses. Now suppose we were making our own application. Let's say we are building our own wallet for Ethereum. So here we would take from our database the address of our user who is logged in, enter that here into the API and hit it against Tatum services, and there it shows us that the balance is 0. So depending upon which address we enter here, in real time it is going to go to the Ethereum blockchain, query the balance for that particular address and show it to us. Then here we can get an Ethereum transaction if we want. So here again, it again shows us that, okay, v3 Ethereum transaction, and now we are going to put the hash of the thing here. Let's try it again. And now, as we can see, it has entered this hash here. Now let's send it. Sorry. Yeah. So the transaction ID we entered there, and it shows us that this particular transaction is not found. So irrespective of what happens, right? So it will give you a response. And API will never just be silent. So if something goes wrong, it will give you a status code 403. It will give you the error code. So here we can make out the error is Ethereum transaction not found. So now at our software level, we can code it that if the response of the API in error code shows us this particular error, then display this. And then we will put a very simple human understandable language saying this Ethereum transaction was not found. So it makes it very easy for a developer to build the application. Whatever APIs are relevant to us, we look at them. Depending on the success or depending on the failure, we will then show a response or an output to our user. And the beauty is, no matter which language we are talking about. So here we could be using C#, Go, PHP or Python. It will create the code and give it to us. So if you're a Go programmer, then you would use this. If you're a Python programmer, then you would use this. A PHP guy would use this. So that's how APIs make it very simple for us. So I have a question here for Gauri, which is, to get the hash of a block, should we need to give the Merkle hash or any individual hash which generates? So a lot of this data, I'll tell you where we get it from. We have one for the block details. Shinam, do we see the API here?
Block number, it's
no, not the number. I want to see all the details of the block.
That I can show it in multi-chain.
Okay, sure. So Shinam will show it to you, and then there are multiple variables that are there in every block. So we have to then put that data and get the relevant data out of it. I think it should show block details here. I don't know why it's not doing that. No. So it gives us the current block number here. Okay. So maybe we could enter it by hash. Shinam, maybe you could show it once we go into the multi-chain.
Yeah.
Now, the same things that we have done here with Ethereum, we can do with any other blockchain that we want. So for example, we want to go to Litecoin and we want to generate a Litecoin wallet. So here again, it's the same story. We see here it is v3/Litecoin/wallet. So you can notice that the only change which is happening is here, instead of Litecoin, you would put whichever blockchain you are actually using. And that's how easy it is. So tomorrow, let's say that one particular blockchain you don't want to use anymore, or for whatever reason that blockchain is not performing well. If you want to migrate your entire application to a new blockchain, all that you would need to do is go and everywhere, wherever the word Litecoin was, you would change it with whichever other blockchain you wanted to use. So maybe you could make it Bitcoin, and your entire application will be up and running in a very short period. So here again, we click on that and we say send, and there it has now generated this wallet for us for Litecoin. Again, you can see it's almost identical. The difference here would be, it would say that, okay, UTXO. Now we know blockchains can have different accounting models. So Litecoin, Bitcoin and all use UTXO. So those kind of commands will obviously not run on a account balance kind of a blockchain like Ethereum. So therein you will notice in Ethereum, you will not have this option of UTXO. So those kinds of commands will not run on EVM blockchains, they will run on the UTXO blockchain. So here we have Polygon also. Exact same thing. We can use Polygon. We can generate a Polygon wallet. Extremely simple. Again, it's going to look the same. v3/polygon/wallet. Try it and send. And here we can see it has generated all the data for the Polygon wallet. So everything here, almost everything is the same. Some differences will be, now we have certain post ones also. So suppose we want to send Matic from one account to another. So again, let's take an example that maybe we are running a, say, an NFT marketplace. And whenever somebody pays in Matic, that money has to be transferred from the buyer's account to the sellers. So how do we do that? Again, we are just going to use this. Now this is going to be post. There is going to be other data which is going to be provided here. And in my case, it's not going to work because I don't have a Matic balance. So we would need now to use accounts which have Matic balances. Then we would actually send a transaction. And as a response, it gives us the transaction ID here. I hope it's, is Tatum using their own nodes to create wallet, or yeah. So Tatum uses its own nodes. Abhishek says, so Jatin, I hope that answers your question. Abhishek says, while creating the wallet, there was a public key and phrases. May I know where we can find the private key?
Can generate.
Yeah, so all that is generated. So let me give you an example here. Can you see this generate Polygon private key? So here you can do that also. And then of course, you have to remember that when you are generating private keys, you are not going to display it to the user. You would probably display only the address. And the private key now, obviously, you are not supposed to have. Now, you know, there are two kinds of wallets. So if you are building a custodial wallet, then you would keep the private key. If it is non-custodial like MetaMask, you wouldn't keep it, as in it will not go to your server. It will lie in the account or on the browser or mobile phone of the user. So, you know, in mobile phones, then there are different kinds of places where data is kept securely. So private data can be stored directly on the mobile data storage of the user or on the browser storage. Any other questions? Okay, so what I would want you guys to do is later, I mean, create your accounts here. So Goldie's question is public key known as address? No, they're two slightly different things. So public key, private key is related to each other mathematically. Then the public key, a shortened version of that becomes the address. So there's a particular algorithm which we use from where it takes the public key and then generates the address. Addresses are smaller versions of public keys. They're not exactly the same thing. I think I had shown it to you guys earlier where we used a paper wallet generator, I think in one of the earlier sessions. And there it showed, it generated the public key, private key. It shows us the address and it also shows us something called as the WIF or the wallet import format. So I'll probably show that to you also in some time. So any questions? Is it all clear? Like even Solana. So a lot of people say Solana is very difficult to use. So again, it depends on what you're trying to do. So if you want to do basic stuff on Solana, then you don't really need to learn much. You could just use one of these. But if you're doing something over and above that, like you're not just generating wallets or not just transferring assets between two accounts, but you want to do complex stuff, that is when you write your own smart contracts, and there you can go to any level of complexity depending on what you're doing. So like this, we have Stellar, Tron, VeChain. I mean, all the popular blockchains that we have, almost all of them are covered by Tatum. So life becomes much easier with them. Abhishek's question is, we need public key or address to transfer the currency. So in most cases, we just use the address. Any other questions? Okay. So, Sheena, what are you going to show now? You're going to show us Postman?
Yeah. So what I'll do is share my screen.
Okay, so let me
definitely allow, because right now.
Let me just unshare. Hold on. Okay. I've stopped sharing.
Yeah, so what I'll do is now I'll open up Postman and I will show how API queries send using Postman. Yeah, so can you see my screen? Hello. Oh, sorry, I have to switch back to.
Yeah, I could see your screen.
Thanks. So now can you see the screen? On this screen, Postman is an API client that we use. There are multiple different kinds of APIs. We are using REST API. So an API, if you can you see this drop down? So these are the different kinds of requests that you can make on API using an API client. Get, post, put, patch. So everybody has a different way of mechanism that it works. Primarily that we use is get and post. What here I'm using is so the multi-chain that we use. We've taught you in the first, I think, last 2 weeks back, right? In that class, we've started using some interactive mode to get information about the blockchain. I've already set that blockchain up on this particular IP address. So basically, you have to mention the API. Here, I don't have endpoints right now. So that is where I'm accessing a URL with a port number. And here we have to submit all this information when we are sending a request for an API. Here params. So every API has different params. With some API you have to mention, like for example, if you want to use Tatum API and you want to access Tatum APIs using Postman, you will have to enter some parameters like which is the blockchain that you're referring to, what is the API key. So these are two important parameters. Then you come to authorization. So here there are different kind of authorizations that we use. So where you given API key, we only use this. So here you just have to enter the API key. But since we are working on a blockchain where it requires more than that, we're using something called a basic auth. So in basic auth, you have to enter the username and password, which I've entered beforehand because I did not want the password to be visible on the screen share. After that, so headers usually automatically picks up. You can see 8 headers are hidden. So, this information is automatically, as in when you enter the authorization, basic authorization, these things are picked up automatically. Then comes to body. So here we are using JSON. Okay. So this is an API request that I'm sending in. So I am using a method called get blockchain params. I need the information about the blockchain parameter that I'm using. And I've also the chain name that I had mentioned while setting it up, and this information you get it from your blockchain, the command line. I'll show you from here. So when you start typing your request, you will get this API request from there. You paste it here, and then can you see the entire information that it's showing right now? Wait, I'll just put the control plus plus. Can you guys read it? Chain protocol, chain description. Let's see if there are some questions. What are the creds passed in the basic auth? So in the basic auth, I have entered is username and password. So when we set up a blockchain, there is something called an RPC username and password. So that RPC username and password is the only way that I can make like the UI or any other parameter to read that blockchain. That's how blockchain is identified, using that username and password. It is in the params.file when we set up a blockchain. So from there, we take up the RPC username and password. So whenever I set up a blockchain, I always keep it noted down somewhere, because in case if you are not able to log in into your server, the RPC username and password is the only way through which you can access your blockchain again. So here I'm showing you the get blockchain params. I have also used some APIs. I will show you some examples of, let's say, get asset info. So I created this asset. I will just paste this here. Since we are working on the same URL, everything remains the same because we are using the same. I'll just click on send. So can you see it is giving me an information of an asset? Do you remember in the 2 weeks back when we were setting up blockchain, we were using all this get asset info. We were creating an asset, transferring it to each other. So we are just doing exactly the same function using API. Now the advantage is, if you can see, it has given me the result. That means there is no error. It will give you all the information of that asset. You can start reading it. Name, transaction ID, asset reference number, multiple, what is the unit, is it an open? So all these parameters are mentioned. Now, how do I call this API in my programming code, like whichever language? So if you can you see this button here, code. Oh, I think I'll have to reduce the screen size. Yeah. Can you see that? Now here it shows me a list of programming languages that I can generate this API code in. So whichever programming language my application works in, I can create it for that particular application. And then I just have to copy this code and paste it in my PHP file or curl or whichever programming language that you're using. And then it's done. That's it. So whenever you paste this code, Dia, are you there on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Should I show them a page where I put in the API call and then try to do it on FTP?
I already show. Let me show that. I already have it open here.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you could just unshare.
In the meanwhile, I'll just read the questions.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the IP address of the port number of multi-check?
Yeah, I replied that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I was just explaining to you about the generate paper wallet. So let me show you how it works. So in this particular interface, if I click on Bitcoin, then it generates this in real time. Now here you can notice that it generates a private key, a public key, an address, and a WIF, which is also called as a wallet import format. So just like the address is a smaller version of the public key, a WIF is a smaller version of a private key. I mean, certain apps use it, some don't. Now, I also want to show you how this code looks. So this code is very simple. So I open the PHP command. Then I have to call a particular address. Now, in this example, I'm not using Tatum. I'm using a service called blockcipher.com. So just like Tatum, they also provide a API service. So they have provided me this link that if you want to generate a Bitcoin address on the mainnet, then you need to run this command. So it's api.blockcipher.com/v1. So the version 1 of their software. Here we put the name of the blockchain, which is BTC for Bitcoin. Main is for mainnet, test would be for testnet, and addrs is what is going to create a new address for us. Then this is all standard curl commands that they've given us. And then this is the part where I am deciding that once the blockchain returns me these addresses, how am I going to display it? You know, I wanted to look nice in some format which merges well with the look of my application. So I have put the HTML code on top here. After that, I have used the print_r command where I've said is that whatever this JSON data which is coming in this $response, that should be decoded and displayed within this table. Now, if I go back to my application, where is it called? Yeah, here it is. So now in my application, where this is a page which has been rendered through HTML, CSS, here in this white looking box, it has shown me the entire data here. So I have formatted it to look part of whatever my UI or the theme that I'm using. So that is what we do with APIs. The API gives us the raw data and then we can display it in whatever format we want. Now, if I scroll up this page, so here you may notice that, okay, I'm showing you the price of a crypto. So now how am I doing that? Now, again, for this, I'm using an API service. So here I'm using something called CoinMarketCap, and my software runs on that API, hits it, calls for a particular price value, and then displays it inside this format. So it shows you the logo of the crypto here, the name here, the short symbol here, and here it shows you the latest price, $19,172.17. So again, here I have to format the output because what I would get from the API is only this number, but I can't just show that to the user. It won't look nice. So I show it within this kind of a layout. So whatever is the UI UX that you are building, you need to just display the response within the UI UX that you are building. I hope it's clear. Any questions? Nitin's question is, how do these API provider services charge? So usually APIs are not expensive. They're very cheap. It's only when you start consuming like huge amounts of it, that is when you start paying more. So I'll give you an example, what I do. So for example, when we look at this, now I'm not running a crypto exchange. So I don't need my crypto prices to be updated like every second. So what I do is, I'm actually storing these values in my database, and every 10 minutes I run a cron job. So that page gets refreshed, makes one API call to CoinMarketCap, pulls the data of hundreds of cryptos which I am actually tracking, stores all that in the blockchain, in my private database. So now suppose 100 people come to my site and they refresh the page. I will not have to run 100 commands. I have every 10 minutes pulled the data, and for those 100 people, I will display the data from my private database. 10 minutes later, it will automatically get refreshed. So everywhere then on my site, it will be very clearly mentioned that, okay, this data is from what time. So let me just show you how that goes. So here, somewhere I'll show you. Yeah, no. Okay, somewhere or the other, it would be written that it is being refreshed at what time. Let me just check if it's there on this page. Yeah, here you can see. So here it says that these are the basic metrics of these cryptos. It is updated approximately every 10 minutes. And last update happened on 26 September at 13:58 UTC. So approximately every 10 minutes, it is going to refresh the data. And I'm showing that to the customer here. Now, if you were running a crypto exchange, then obviously you cannot do it this way. You would need to update like, every second it is being updated. So then obviously you would end up paying a much higher fees for that. Is that clear? Any other questions? Is it? Can someone give me a quick yes, no? Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, I think that's more. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I just, in case if anybody has questions, because.
Okay. So now what ideally you would be doing next as homework is, now that you've understood that, okay, this is how Tatum works, you would now create a simple application. So make a simple looking HTML application. You can even download a template from some of these free sites like Bootstrap has got a lot of free good looking templates. So download that template and then add some blockchain elements. So maybe you could create a simple form. And in that form, so for example here, where I showed you that, we can
Tatum APIs and create a web page where probably they're generating an address.
Yeah. So what you could do is, so you could take that template, have a button there which says Bitcoin or Dash, and then depending upon which button the user clicks, generate the address and display it to the user. Like here for Dogecoin, if I hit, it shows me the details for Dogecoin. When I do it for Litecoin, it's going to show me for Litecoin. So like this, we can see for all the different values here. So I can do.
And I think, sorry to interrupt.
No.
I was saying the best part about API is that you don't need to learn 10 blockchains. You just need to understand API, and then you can pull data from multiple blockchains, irrespective of what is their proof of work. You don't need to go hands-on in every blockchain to get the outputs.
Sure. And Yagnadeep's question is, where do you have to create it? Achha, the RPC username password actually gets generated when you set up a particular node. So, Shino, maybe you could share the link with them about how they could see that. It's there on the API command page.
So, for example, but in case if they're using an API service provider, then they would need is the API key. Then they do not require.
But suppose they're doing it on multi-chain, then so if you are creating your own blockchain on multi-chain and you want to run the multi-chain API, then you would need the RPC username. But
I will
otherwise,
just tell you in which file it lies.
Yeah.
In the meanwhile, I'll just search for it.
Sure. But I would say to begin with, don't create this application around multi-chain. Create it around multiple public blockchains. So when you take Tatum, we can see that they've got a whole bunch of blockchains. So you could actually, you say, for example, you want to run Get Ledger, right? So you could then run it for Stellar, XRP. You could say, okay, this is what, XRP is Ripple. So for Ripple, you could run it. For VeChain, you could run it. So VeChain is a popular one for supply chain. So like this, you will notice there are lots of really cool blockchains out there. So make a simple web application in which you have embedded this Tatum APIs and let the user come and click on different buttons, and automatically then different APIs are running and it is showing you some kind of data. I hope that's clear to all of you. There's a question. Can you guys quickly type it in? If it's clear, just say clear. Okay, Nitin's question is, who are responsible for creating these API endpoints? Is it the individual blockchain developers? Also the requests that we are sending, are they going to? Okay, so Tatum is a service, right? They create these endpoints, and as a developer, we integrate these endpoints into our application. So when you look at this website or this application, or you look at this application, I have built this application, but the API endpoints belong to a third party, which I have integrated. So depending upon what level I'm using, I may be paying them for it, or I may be doing it for free. So as a developer, I don't have to create the endpoint. There are third parties who have already created the endpoints for us. We simply integrate, which is why I say, when you want to make any web application blockchain enabled, it is very easy to do. I mean, you could take any normal application in the world and attach or integrate blockchain endpoints, and it becomes a blockchain application. So it's very, very easy, and 99% of the people don't need to learn smart contracts for it. So for example, I think, yeah, Nitin's question continues that, are they going to smart contracts in the blockchains? No, not really. Because what we showed you was very basic stuff, right? So when we are querying a balance, we are not actually hitting a smart contract. We are hitting the blockchain and asking for a balance of someone. Where we would create smart contracts is when we want to build complicated applications, like let's say an insurance product is being built. Or if you remember, we showed you the Open Zeppelin wizard, where we could click a few buttons, it would generate a smart contract code, which we then took into an IDE, an integrated development environment. I think we used Remix, and then that would go and create your token. And then we paid a charge for it. So if you realize, there is no API here directly which allows you to create a token. For that, we would use a service like Open Zeppelin. But basic querying of blockchains can be done very easily. So most of the crypto wallets that you see, you can actually make an entire wallet of your own simply by using a service like Tatum. Next time, we'll be showing you a different service called Alchemy, which has a lot other features also. But something as difficult looking as a crypto wallet can actually be created using these APIs. Because at the base, what does a crypto wallet really do? It generates addresses, it allows you to send transactions, receive, and it allows you to see balances. Well, all that is very basic and available in an API service. Nitin says, I was asking more about where Tatum gets these. So Tatum has built these endpoints. So they would use, let's say, JavaScript, for example. Different blockchains use different services, or they have different syntax. So the job of the Tatum company is to make unified looking APIs. So what they do is, irrespective of what the blockchain actually uses, they will make it in a format which is same across all. So every blockchain that Tatum supports, the URLs, the variables are going to look like this. It is always going to be v3/ the name of the blockchain / wallet. So I can just replace this by Ethereum, I can replace it by Bitcoin, and it would run perfectly. But Bitcoin's actual APIs would look very different. So Tatum is kind of bridging or connecting those. They are giving you a unified way of doing it. Kind of like you go into a restaurant and you order a chicken biryani, right? You don't need to know the recipe of the chicken biryani. The waiter takes your order, goes to the kitchen and tells the chef, give me a chicken biryani. The chef's job is then to create it. So similarly, Tatum can be considered to be like a waiter, and inside the kitchen there are different chefs. So there is a chef called Bitcoin and there is a chef called Polygon. The waiter simply gives it what it needs, like wallet, and then the chef knows what to create. I hope that's all clear. Any other questions? Yagnideep says, out of context, after the merge, it is said that Solana is more decentralized than Ethereum. What's your take on this? Well, considering that Solana as an entire blockchain keeps going down, so I doubt whether it's actually very decentralized. So no, I kind of don't agree with this. But I'm sorry, I'm also quite biased against Solana. Any other questions? So I hope your homework now is clear. You are going to make a simple web application. It could be just a normal looking page, or you could download a good looking application. And then I want you to integrate some Tatum APIs into it. And for the user, it should be very simple, where they just create an application, click a button, and immediately some kind of a data is displayed to them. I hope that's all clear to all of you. Any other questions? Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes, T.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So, Sheenam, is there anything else you wanted to show them?
Not really. I was actually just prepared the Tatum APIs also in Postman, but we've already seen Tatum APIs, so it's clear.
Sure. So great. I look forward to some of you completing this homework and showing it to us. So if you can upload your application onto a cloud server or a web hosting provider, and then you can share the link with other people. So we have a LinkedIn group where all of you are members. You can post it there. I can have a look, and Oshinam can have a look. We can give you comments. So it'll be a good way to make a first. So that actually becomes your first DApp. Make a nice, simple DApp. I hope all of you try it out there.
Sorry, I've also put in the commands for getting the RPC username and password from multi-chain. I posted it in the comments.
Yeah, it's on top. I'll just paste it again. Pasted the command again.
Yeah.
But like I said, for the homework, I don't want you to use multi-chain. I want you to use Tatum. And try out different blockchains. Yeah. Okay. Nice speaking to all of you. We'll see you next Monday. And this Friday, I'll be doing a talk on how to build a career in token economics. So it's more from a finance point of view. So do share it with your friends who are CAs or working in the finance domain. I'll just take another question. I have a general question. What are you going to teach in Web3 tech stack? Yeah. So the 7th October one, where by the way, the entrance is you need 200 learn tokens in your wallets. So one second, let me just stop sharing my screen first. Okay. So I'm doing this session where, I made this on Instagram. I don't know if you saw that image that I created. So there are 4 layers when we talk about the Web3 tech stack. So now as a developer, what all are you supposed to do? Like I said, you're not supposed to write all the code from the basics. So I'm going to teach you what are these 4 layers and what are the different softwares or ready services. Like, you use something like a MetaMask to authenticate users. So I'm going to explain all those 4 layers and a whole bunch of technologies which are used. So for example, there is something called as Truffle Suite. Now that has a nice bunch of tools to use. So I'll be giving you an overview of all those different tools. So it's going to be, I think, about a couple of hours session. And I hope to see all of you there. Vivan's question is, you can also share screen and show her how to buy. Vivan, how do I show that? Option on my, would you be able to show it to them? Nitin's question is, do we get any confirmation mail? Because I had already bought it using the learn tokens. Oh, okay. So Vivan will be able to answer your question on that. And by the way, from now on, all my courses will Nitin's question is, now comes the utility of the tokens. Yeah, there's going to be lots of really cool utility use cases coming out of Learn. The first one is going to be premium courses and lots more coming. We expect very soon you'll actually be able to get discounts on buying laptops using Learn tokens. So we are already in talks with some of the largest laptop manufacturers to give discounts to people who have Learn tokens. There are also a lot of cafes are interested in giving discounts to students who come. So Learn is going to have huge amount of use cases very soon. Okay. Please share the coder repo at Yagnadeep. Okay. Okay. Vivan, would you be able to show that to us?
Hey, yeah. So hey, so it's pretty simple, straightforward. So if you guys, I think your question will get answered in a second. I'll just share my screen. You should be able to see my screen right about now. You guys can just let me know. So you guys see on the website, there's a learn and earn buttons. You know how much tokens you have earned and stuff. It might take a few seconds to load up and stuff. Thereafter, you just go onto the store tab over here. There's another link also that I can share you, but since you guys are on the live stream, and thereafter you can see what Rojas and other creators similarly will be offering against the learn. So I think one of the questions was how much is it for? So as you can see, tokenomics masterclass is for 500 learn and Web3 technology stack is for 200 learn. And then you can just hit buy now over here and then confirm. If you have enough learn in your thing, it'll say that the purchase is complete. And once this has come, that basically means you already have entry into this. And then thereafter, when this course goes live, you'll get access, and then the course will happen similar to what you guys are on this live stream, but people who have not purchased it will not be able to enter, basically. So you have to have purchased it before. Similarly, you'll find the same thing on the store page as well, and then there's another link as well, I think, which Rojas might have shared on Telegram with you guys. So those are 2 or 3 different ways, but the store one is the most convenient for the people who are watching the stream itself. I think somebody had already bought it, and they will get a confirmation itself. So will the loan be burnt when someone buys the course, or will it be transferred to other wallet? Maybe
I'll answer that
question.
Sure. So no, it will not get burnt. It goes to the teacher, and then learn is expected to be listed this year on an international exchange. And then whatever, see, because for the teacher, then it kind of becomes like a revenue stream also. So as a user, you are, I'll tell you the formula that we're using. So when you are earning learn, it's 1 token per minute of learning. So in a way, you can say that learn tokens are backed by knowledge. So it's kind of, you can say it is proof of knowledge. So you spend, for every 1 minute of learning that you do, you get 1 learn token. When you are consuming it, I'm going right now with the formula of 1 hour for 100 tokens. So if I do a 2-hour masterclass, the cost will be 200 tokens. I hope that's clear. The formula is simple for all of you to understand. So right now, when you're listening to me, every 1 minute of listening gives you 1 token. When it comes to consuming, it's 100 tokens per hour. Yeah. I hope that part's clear. Any other questions on that? Yagnadeep is, will it have monetary value? Very soon, yes. So like I said, some of the there's lots and lots of action happening. And some of you, in fact, if you know creators or you yourself want to become a creator, get in touch with Vivan. And there's lots and lots of action happening in Learn. So as of right now, most of this action is restricted for the teachers. And for you guys, very soon you'll come to know. Vivan, token economics, we haven't really announced it yet, correct?
Rojas, that was the first one you had listed in the first thing you had shared with me. So you had asked me to list it for 500.
Oh yeah, can you delete that, because I'm kind of redesigning that program.
Okay, a few people have purchased it. Anyway, I'll connect with you.
My bad on that. I completely forgot. I thought I told you that I'm redesigning that program. So as soon as it's redesigned, I'll announce that.
Sure. We'll connect with the people, and then if they want, we'll transfer them to the other course.
Sure. That sounds good. My bad. Any other questions? Okay, so nice speaking to all of you. I'll see you guys either next Friday or then next Monday. So we shouldn't buy that right now. Yeah, Prakash, so don't buy the token economics. My bad. I'm redesigning that a little bit. I mean, I've got some new ideas about what all I want to cover in that. So right now you can purchase the 7th October program, which is on the Web3 developers tech stack. 2-hour session, 200 learn tokens. Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, and please do talk to your colleges. If you are connected to any of the colleges, please do talk to them about if they want to start using Learn. So even your teachers in your regular college can start to use Learn tokens. Bye.